Hey everybody, thanks for attending a NACHI TV webinar. I'm Ben Gromyko from InterNACHI, and sorry we're a couple minutes late, but on my side I was trying to test with John, who's going to do a presentation for us, and also I'm trying to go live on Facebook, and I think I got the right button, but we'll see how it all works. Technology is fantastic if you're intelligent. So I'm at a deficit, or it works. As soon as the technology breaks down, it's not all that great, but I think we've got it. And so we're going to talk about water testing with John, and he is the CEO of Simple Water, and he also has given InterNACHI members a really nice page to visit. It's mytapscore.com. Oh no, it's something else. Let me see. Let me get it right, John. mytap.us and /InterNACHI. And if you go there, there's more details about what John is going to talk about. And there's also a discount code, an exclusive discount code for InterNACHI members. So if you're interested.
Also in the presentation.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I was just adding in there, that we will, through the course of the presentation, I look forward to certainly sharing some discounts and an exciting opportunity as an InterNACHI member to get involved with TapScore Pro. Cool. Is it ready? Am I ready to go, Ben?
Yeah, so let's see. We have a description of the webinar. Sorry, I'm a little bit, I'm off my usual timeline here. So let's learn about the first dedicated national water testing service for home buyers built for home inspectors. So that's what you're going to talk to us about today. And let me give you controls for presenting. And if I can do that easily, then John can take it away for us.
All right, here we go. Just checking to make sure you can still hear me.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks to all who are joining. Again, my name is John Pujol. Thank you, Ben, for the introduction. My mission and the mission of everyone at our company is to make environmental testing easier. If more people test their water, their air, their soil, we live in a better world, because all too often we wait to get sick, and then we go to the doctor and we learn we have some illness, and you ask why. Well, a lot of the time, the unfortunate answer is that you are exposed to contaminants in your everyday life, slowly, chronically over the course of your life, 5, 10, 20 years, and those contaminants can really add up. Now, conventional medicine and precision medicine have never fully embraced the challenge of environmental health, in part because accessing the environmental testing has been really tricky. But because of innovations in software communication and in the ability to use remote sensing and the ability to distribute materials directly to consumers and to vendors in ways that wasn't possible 10 years ago, the full power of lab testing is now more manageable and at hand. And we specialize in water testing. Everyone on the planet is affected by drinking water, and not to mention other aspects of water like surface water and the weather and so forth. Our main goal today, and as it has been for the last couple of months, is to show that the home inspector is actually the perfect untapped individual for doing the water testing that society for a long time has neglected. We all have heard of horror stories like Flint, where folks went years drinking water contaminated with lead, and sadly will never recover from the exposures they had. The main reason this happens is because nobody tests their home. We're changing that. We're making it easier for people to test their home, and we believe the right moment to do that is for the inspector. We've had a large number of our tests already come through from inspectors and from real estate agents and from home buyers. And so we've cultivated a process that is specifically beneficial for water testing by home inspectors. I think we know it is the only one of its kind with such a focus on home inspection. And so what my presentation today will do is walk you through, 1, why water testing is important, how to communicate that to your clients. 2, how to use TapScore Pro to collect and ship water quality samples to the lab, and 3, why the service is indeed tailored for you. Like what we are giving you that makes your job easier, more profitable, and hopefully better overall of a relationship between you and your client in a way that's going to make you money as well. So without further ado, let me start clicking some buttons. TapScore Pro. Here's the problem. Environmental lab testing is unnecessarily expensive and confusing and cumbersome for everyone involved, not just home inspectors. Anytime you try to work with directly with a laboratory, things can get very messy, confusing, frustrating. The truth is that labs are not designed to serve smaller customers. And I know some home inspectors have large teams, lots of trucks, and you might qualify as a larger client. But most of these labs are looking for deals in the range of $100,000 and up, $50,000 and up. In any case, your 1 or 2 samples that you might send in a week never makes you a big client. And so environmental labs, which have used the same IT software by and large since the 80s, do not know how to kind of cultivate the smaller business relationships, namely that of plumbers and real estate agents and home inspectors, individual consumers. They're built for dealing with larger clients like the municipal water utility. So let's talk for a second. I don't want to be boring. I know that a lot of you have heard about water quality issues, but I do think it is important to at least touch on some of why this matters. Because, you know, the truth is most of us have grown up and never really learned how important these kind of exposure health issues are, but that has changed. You know, we're a company that began 2 or 3 years ago, and we have seen nothing but monthly increases in demand for water testing and environmental testing. And a lot of that is because these facts are starting to enter popular culture. Namely, more than 25% of US homes have some water health risk. That could be from the plumbing, that could be from a private well, that could be a disinfection byproduct that the utility has put in the system, but has encountered something else on its way to the home and become a carcinogen. Consumer home health testing is one of the fastest growing sectors in the healthcare market. And what I'm trying to say is that this is a great opportunity for home inspectors to add a new product to their arsenal and serve a greater cause, namely the inclusion of environmental health when buying a house, because it matters. If you're going to drink water from this home, from that kitchen every day for the next 20 years, and your child will too, that issues like lead and nitrates and arsenic are accounted for from the beginning. Okay, so what do home buyers want? Well, they want confidence and safety in their water quality at home. Inspectors, you know, use fast, accurate, no hassle, low cost testing and certified labs. Check, 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 check. Regulators and loan officers are increasingly interested in water and home health. So there's new bills being passed in some states, and there are new procedures normally entering on the world of private wells, but it is not a large stretch of the imagination to assume that in the near future, water testing and environmental testing will become a bigger part of buying a house. Just some very basic stuff here. Lead is always the most commonly asked contaminant, and it's included in all of our testing packages for that reason. It is important to note that just because the local water system doesn't have lead in their report that they give you every year, that your home is also free of lead. You might have lead faucets, solders, galvanized pipes. There are even service line connections from the street to the home, which have old lead plumbing in them. And we see this almost every day, an instance in which someone's home is in a nice neighborhood that has no lead reported in their local utility annual water quality report, and yet we find lead because it turns out that the plumbing is 60 years old, or because the faucet came, you know, from Italy in the 70s, and you know, nobody ever thought to check. So the goal is to have 0 lead in your water. The EPA limits it to 15 parts per billion. We test down to the 0 part per billion level so that you can see how much lead is in your water. Even if it's not at the EPA level, you might still be concerned as a homeowner. And so we give the inspector the ability to test lead down to 0, down to as low as effectively 1/2 of a part per billion. Another example, and I promise this is the last one because I don't want this to turn into a chemistry lesson, is nitrates. If lead is an issue for everyone, Nitrates are particularly an issue in smaller water systems, in rural communities, and places where you have private wells and farms. When you have heavy agriculture, nitrates and nitrites enter the water system through the ground, get pulled up by your well, and if you have an infant in the house, anywhere below 6 months or so, the infant has a high likelihood of getting very sick from a disease called blue baby syndrome. That disease is unfortunately terribly too often and too tragic. And so we also always test for nitrates in all of our home inspection tests. Okay, so in summary, why testing water quality is important? Well, it's important because water quality risks affect everyone in this country. Many more homes than expected have water quality risks in them. Inspectors are the ideal person to collect these samples. You are professionals, you are aware of how to collect samples and follow directions closely. You understand how to communicate rather scientific things to someone who may not know much about water quality, and you have experience doing a very good job of an engineering-like task in a changing setting. Every home is different, every well is different, every tap is different. So inspectors are also there before the family moves in, and it gives us a really great data point and a moment of confidence for the person moving in. And listen, the water quality in this house is great, nothing to worry about. Or, oh, actually the water quality in this house is problematic, and we're going to need to change out the plumbing, or we're going to need to change this faucet. Our goal is to help you convey that information to your client. We have about 25 inspectors so far through our beta run initially. They're, we think, very happy with the service, and through their interactions with us, we have developed a much more mature and fastly growing home inspector service that is really hitting on the key things that home inspectors want to see in a water test from what we've learned. Okay, so in essence, SimpleLab is matching all labs and inspectors. How do we do this? Well, we actually coordinate a large network of laboratories, more than 60 laboratories nationwide, so that every inspector is getting their test to the lab that can do the testing fastest with the appropriate certifications. All of our tests come to you in 3 to 5 days. What that means is that you don't need to worry about waiting 2 weeks to get the sample results back. We want to get them back to you as quickly and efficiently as possible. So we include in every package your sampling materials, your instructions, an activation card, which we'll explain later, and a return shipping label for UPS, prepaid, all set. So all you're going to do is go to the home, and as you're doing your other checks, you pull a sample of the drinking water, you bring it to UPS, and it ships next day to the lab. So 2 to 5 day turnaround time, automated logistics and comms. So 2 to 5 day turnaround time, that makes sense, right? I mean, like, you send in the materials to the lab, in less than 5 days, you'll have results. If you need them faster, because time is really of the essence, just let us know and we can probably do it 2 or 3 days. I think we charge a $25 fee for the rush, but it's not a lot. Automated logistics and comms. So you have questions, your clients have questions, we have a team, and you'll see our faces shortly standing by to address any and all questions related to water quality testing, water quality results, the cost of treatment, whether they should change out plumbing or not. We are not biased in any way. We don't sell any particular treatment product ourselves. Our goal is to help you sell more water testing and for your client to really understand that their water quality is good or bad and what to do about it. Okay, here's the list of our existing clients. Some of these are you'll be familiar with because they're in either plumbing, or real estate, or water treatment. Okay, so I'm going to summarize some stuff before we move on to the next section of my presentation. Why is this great for home inspectors? Well, we're giving you certified lab tests at a 2 to 5 day turnaround window with prepaid shipping. You'll have an awesome customer support team for you and for your clients. There will be more testing options than any other single lab in this country could ever address, simply because we are a network of labs with 60+ labs. That means we can always optimize what needs to be tested and how quickly it needs to be tested at the lowest rate. We effectively have a marketplace platform where the labs can bid on the samples that you as home inspectors are sending in. So that keeps our costs low. That means we can move samples really quickly and pass on that to you and your customers. We'll talk about pricing in a second. Finally, auto billing. Nobody likes to pay bills over and over again. It is a nuisance. It takes time. So we give you the opportunity to pay for things up front or to pay later. Either way, it's automated. There's no paperwork. There are no PDFs you need to sign. It's all fancy future generation online payment mechanisms. Lastly, as I said up top, prepaid shipping labels are included in every kit. It's great because it might be 4 or 5 o'clock and you're done with your last gig of the day. You just bring this to UPS, drop it off, you're done. So let's talk about the money. So in a standard kit, and we'll get into that in a second, your cost will be $99. At least it is as InterNACHI members right now. So at $99, we are telling you that the MSRP for that test is $179. That's because you are collecting the sample for the customer who would otherwise have to buy it on our own website, and you are doing the work of making sure it gets to the post office and sampling it correctly. So our MSRP is almost double the cost that we charge you. So you profit $75 per test. This is on our most basic test, and I'm going to stick to our most basic test because I would encourage anyone who works with us to start there. It is a fast, easy way of getting to know our system. And as soon as you need to test more things or test something crazy, you just reach out and we'll add that on. But yes, for our standard package, your cost is $99. We suggest you selling it to your client at $179. This is what most practitioners are doing right now, and that means your profit is $75 per test. You can pay now or you can pay later. I think most people are familiar with this. If you want to pay later, you effectively put your credit card on your dashboard. We'll walk through that momentarily, and we'll charge you as tests come through. Or you can pay now, which means you'll order tests in advance from us. It's a slightly better deal that way, and all the billing and paperwork is done. Just a reiteration of that right here. We have a lot of materials, paper materials, marketing materials, support materials that'll be available to you in case you have questions or want to read through all of our capabilities. Okay, let's talk about the basic test and the kind of second most basic test. The first one is called the basic home inspector test. It includes lead and arsenic, coliform and E. coli, nitrates and nitrites. These were chosen because while so many states have different regulations on how these tests are conducted, these components pretty much cover every state in the country. Some states don't necessarily include arsenic, some might not necessarily include nitrites. Ultimately, what we did was we established a basic kit that we think represents the minimum viable claim on the water quality health of the home, whether it's a city or a well. That's the one we were talking about earlier for $179, which we charge you $99 for. Occasionally, people want to add all the heavy metals and all the metals. And so it's easy to upgrade that test. You have a little button that you can push on your dashboard, and suddenly that same test, you can charge $229 and we'll charge you $138. We add 40 more contaminants to the test. It's effectively the full range of metals, includes iron, aluminum, cadmium, manganese, copper. You'll be able to see more detail of what we test for later. Just know that we can test absolutely everything. You got the basic home inspector test, which is the easiest way to start. And then whenever you want, you can upgrade that and add 40 more contaminants if your client wants a more comprehensive test. And again, we'll give you marketing materials if you need help conveying this to your client, especially if this is something new to you. All right, lots of pictures. Here's a good idea of what we're sending you each time. So you've seen the box. Let me go back here for a second. Where was the box? Effectively a box like this. And when you open it, and we might send you 5 at a time or 10 at a time, when you open it, you have the following materials inside. You'll have sampling vials, you may have a chlorine strip, you may have an instruction sheet, you'll have a sample activation card or sample information card, which tells you, rather instructs you to write down where you're collecting the sample. Downstairs kitchen sink, 9 a.m. My name is Matthew. A couple of little things. That's so when we receive it in the lab, we know exactly for sure that these sample vials, which will be labeled when they arrive at your destination, we know exactly where they came from and we can't get them confused. Okay, so overview of shipping instructions. We'll send you a package in the mail, maybe 5, maybe 10. You'll bring them to the customer's house. As part of your inspection, you'll spend 5 minutes filling up some water from the kitchen tap or somewhere else in the house. You'll then send those in later in the day. It's as simple as bringing it to any UPS. It's all prepaid. You slap the sticker on it and it'll get to the lab. You'll be able to track it as well. We'll get to that momentarily. All right, so let's go and take a look at what this would actually feel like. You go to vendor.mytapscore.com. Let me minimize my screen here. Okay, so you'd start off actually here. If you've never signed up before, you'd enter your email down here to get started. You type in your email. It'll then ask you to create a password. You create a password and you're set up. It's very simple and easy to get started that way. That puts you in our system as a vendor. And when you make your first order, there will be a moment to actually use an InterNACHI code so that we know you're an InterNACHI member as well, and we'll pass those discounts on to you. Okay, so TapScore Pro, here's where you go to sign up. Once you have signed up and you want to come in and check out your account and your clients and the status of all your tests, or to order more tests from us, you'll go to mytap.us/pro or vendor.mytapscore.com. I'll just show you that right here, vendor.mytapscore.com. Okay, so then we'll sign in. This is a demo account, obviously. Okay, let's take a look at what we see here on the screen. Right in front of you are all of the activated tests that you'll have. These activated tests are tests that you have collected and sent in. That's what we say, what we mean when we say activated. Under unactivated tests, these are the ones which you have not yet filled up and sent in. And so whenever you are showing up at a house and you collect a new sample and you say, listen, you open up the box and the code is YB7M55, you would hit this orange button here, activate, and it would activate the test. It'll bring up a page here. This one's already paid, so I'll click this one. It's a better example. You'll give us the client's email and address. This needs to go on the official documentation of your lab report. This is actually the exact same information on the sample information card. We like collecting it twice, once digitally, once in hand. That just is the most surest method we can think of to ensure that every sample is properly assigned to the right user, the right client, the right vendor. So basic stuff, your email, the name, client's email, the name, client's address, collected date. If you don't want to send this directly to the client, you can enter your own email in here. You get date, is the sample treated, did it pass through a softener? Where did you collect the water sample? You'll hit submit. Then your test becomes an activated test, which means it is either in the lab, on the way to the lab, or reported and already in the hands of your customer. You can see if your customer has viewed the test. You can approve the test yourself. Sometimes, and I'll show you this in a moment, like you can determine if you want the test results to go directly to your customer or if you want to hold them onto them yourself first and include them, let's say, in a larger report.
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
So would the report be available by PDF, like an attachment?
Yes, great question. So here is what the report looks like. There are two versions. There is the pretty version, which we have designed so that anyone with any background will understand what their results mean. It has detailed descriptions of all the parameters. Nice. It has links that can be clicked. This, however, as you're alluding to, is not as convenient as a PDF, and also for certification purposes, you do need a PDF that looks in a much more structured fashion. So we include that as well. Up here under the navigate button is a printable version. There will also down here sometimes be an attachment, so it'll appear both ways. The important thing is that you do have the access to a printable version that does qualify your test for inclusion in mortgage payments and so forth, FHA and VHA loans. This report is easy to print. It'll satisfy all the requirements and you're on your way. But if your customer wants to see it, maybe they don't want to look through this, and we've tried to make this readable, but it just isn't as well communicated in this PDF as it is in this HTML. Yep. Your customer has the ability to see both, and you have the ability to see both. the
Nowadays,
key thing to
a lot of home inspection reports are cloud-based, and so home inspectors are starting to send simply a link to their clients to retrieve their information anyways. Looks like that would be what I would do. I would just send the URL to my client for their report. Would they have a username and password, or is it simply just a direct link?
Simply a direct link. So you can see right here on the PDF, live report address. So at this address, you click this on your PDF.
Yeah.
And it'll take you to the live report, which is where we came. It's a live report because even though the sample results are fixed in time and those aren't changing, the research does change. And so on occasion, there is a new health limit, or there is a new contaminant of concern, or there are local results. And we'll include that constantly in the report. So your customer gets an ongoing sense of what's going on in their water nearby. One thing we don't talk about too much here is, yes, we have water, we have these treatment recommendations for the customer to look at. Again, we don't sell them ourselves. We're not in cahoots with any of these companies. We just make some recommendations because a lot of people don't know how to make those decisions themselves. So we say, listen, you need a softener that's this size and so forth. Go look for one. If you have questions, you click down here and you chat with someone on our team. You also get local water quality results. So you can also see the water quality in your area nearby, what violations they have, what concerns people in those areas might have. And all of this is a living system. So if someone comes back to the report 6 months later, they've moved in, boxes are out of the house, they're like, okay, yeah, right, remember that water quality report, we need to deal with some lead issues. They can come back here, they can see the live version of the report, namely their results in the context of recent water quality issues in the area.
So the report has information. I was a home inspector for many years and doing water quality samples. My reports didn't have this kind of information. So you're actually telling me stuff like what water system the house is on and who serves that house with water. That's amazing.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, we want to be as useful as possible for people to know answers to their water. And so we're going to continue adding on different sections to the report and growing out our service so that ultimately you need only ever look at your live report for your home and be like, okay, my water quality score is an 80 from tap score. These are the issues why it's not 100. This is how I can fix them. And here are the recent events that have taken place in water quality in my area, things I should be concerned about. And we want all of that to always be on the report here. And it makes sense from our standpoint for the inspector to be the one providing this because it's at the right moment. Someone's moving into the house. They're making decisions on equipment like water quality treatment. They're about to sign up for 5, 10, 20, 40 years drinking this water. And if it's not for the home inspector, it's going to take their own individual volition to go online and find us. And the truth is,
you're not just talking about private wells. You're talking about sampling just about any home.
Yeah, and it's shocking. I think as many, if not half, if not more than half, about half of our customers are city water connected customers.
Yeah.
And of them, I'd say somewhere between 15 and 30% find significant issues that they choose to address.
Because it's city water. It's public water just isn't reliable anymore, really, 100%. I know that for a fact where I live.
They do a great job at the treatment plant. I think the problem, and I always hesitate to throw utilities under the bus because I'm like, I know how hard that job is.
Right.
Millions of gallons of water pumping throughout a city all day long, 24 hours a day. There's no rest. It's a constant changing chemistry of on enormous proportions.
Yep.
So without throwing them under the bus, the problem is that a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the pipes, and a lot of the homes are totally unaccounted for by the water system. The water system doesn't own your home. They can't come in and check things and make sure you have no lead in your plumbing. And they also can't master perfectly the way that their system operates because that water is moving through tens, if not hundreds of miles of pipe. And as it moves through that pipe, water changes, pipes break, things get in. And so right now, there is no better way to know what your water quality is like than to do a test at your kitchen sink. And the utility won't do that for you. And so what we're advocating is that now you can do this for yourself.
And nowadays, one of the concerns, there's many concerns, but one of the concerns is pharmaceuticals, right? Where a lot of us are on medication and then we urinate and the water is treated. But is it too difficult of a thing to try to sample for pharmaceutical contamination?
Not at all. It's very straightforward. We have a number of customers who do testing from everything from estradiol and other estrogen-related compounds, to over-the-counter drugs, things like caffeine, even cocaine. There's an enormous list of contaminants that are detectable in drinking water, but there really aren't very many people testing until I think we have been on the forefront of trying to get individuals more engaged, inspectors and people with training more engaged in collecting these samples. Because it's actually, in our opinion and in our mission, the big goal here is that we have to all become more responsible for things like our environmental health, because these larger government institutions are struggling to keep up with the times. And if nobody knows how to send in a water test or an air test or a soil test, then we're just completely dependent on annual reporting from utilities and occasional work by nonprofits.
So for attendees on Facebook and also GoToWebinar, if you have a question for John, just feel free to ask and I'll try to convey it to him. So John, I didn't want to interrupt you. If you have more slides to show us, more information to show us, feel free to continue. But one question for you. What about taking samples for potability? Do I need to put it on ice and ship it, or is there any keeping it cold kind of thing, a concern about shipping it and keeping
we'll
it,
give you those materials and those instructions
integrity
every time.
Yes. I'm sorry, what was that?
We will indeed give you those instructions and materials for keeping things cold every time.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I mean, we'll go back one slide. That's a good question. What you'll get from us, you'll get a bunch of boxes filled each with the materials you need to collect tests. And if you start with the base package, that'll include the bottle, the shipping label, the activation card, the instructions, and bags for ice or coolers. Each one of those packages obviously has the free shipping label included. You activate it online, as I just showed you. As you use it, you'll get the customer service from our team. You'll get 2 water quality reports, the tap score information rich one, and then the printable PDF. And the truth is, you'll get a cool opportunity to make money and help people live happier, healthier lives, which is already under the purview of most home inspection anyway. And so we think it's a great alignment, and we're excited to be working on it. This is our support team, so talking to us online, you encounter any one of us with questions.
Speaking of questions, I got a question from Facebook. Jay asks, is there a list of labs involved with the tap score program?
We haven't actually put out a list. It's partly because it just keeps changing. We intend to, though.
Okay. Let's see. I like the guides that you include to help the inspectors take the samples, because I remember always doing it. I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right. I always had this bottle of alcohol and had to spray the kitchen sink and also remove the screen. So these guides on how to take samples, they're for us, and we can refer to them in paper form or online or something, or you're going to include it in the box?
Yeah, so they'll be included in the box. We have another place where we collect a lot of information to help home inspectors answer those kind of questions: how to collect the sample, how to ship it in properly, how to help communicate the results. For people who have questions about any of that, we're also standing by all the time online to answer questions live.
Cool. I see a discount code.
That's right. Yeah. So obviously we are really excited to start ramping up this program. We're doing a special for all Working InterNACHI members. That's 10% off of your tests. And once you place your first order, we will give you 1 test free. We want you to be happy and confident using the service. You can make more money, and really it doesn't take a lot of time, and we think everyone wins.
I have a question from Cecilia. She says, for states that need the VA test, it needs to be in a lab within the state, she says. So how do you handle that situation? Do you have that in place yet?
There's a couple such states where there's certain interesting nuances that we've learned across the way. One is that in New Jersey, it needs to be a member of the lab collecting the sample. So one disclaimer is that, home inspectors in New Jersey, we haven't yet developed the right product for you, but we're working on it. There are other nuances which we will effectively address each time an inspector signs up and tells us where they work and the state that they're working in. And then we will make sure that only the appropriate labs who are qualified, who have the appropriate certifications, will receive your samples.
Cool. Another question, David asks, did I understand that the samples will need to be shipped packed in ice?
So we actually provide, if I had Kate on the line right now, my colleague, she would tell me what we're doing at the moment. Okay. We'll provide either ice bags, which are obviously easily prepared in any kind of a freezer the day before you go out, or have a bunch of them constantly just saved in the freezer, or cool packs, and we provide both.
John texted a question, is TapScore primarily a third-party management company? You don't actually analyze, correct?
Correct. We are actually not the ones running the lab. So we've chosen, instead of running one lab, to develop a business model that is all labs and effectively a platform in which various labs can serve smaller customers and smaller businesses more effectively. So the labs are effectively saying, listen, we would prefer TapScore manage all of the retail small clients. So we do that customer service, we do the coordination, the shipping, the reporting, all the management there. And all they do is do the testing. And so it's a win-win for them and for us. And our platform is ultimately a list of laboratories that have said, we'd rather you handle these retail relationships than to do them ourselves. And in exchange for that, we're able to get better pricing because of the volume that we move.
Yeah, I remember dropping off my samples at one lab. Sometimes we would have to travel a couple hours just to drop it off because that was the only lab that could do it quickly for us. And their lab report was, well, it wasn't user-friendly for our clients. So we actually had to retype everything and attach the actual lab report as an attachment so everyone can see the original lab. So I really like your dashboard. It makes the report look really nice. That's what home inspectors are really interested in, having really nice reports.
Thanks, and we're always taking feedback too. So, I mean, already a number of the home inspectors we work with have told us like, hey, actually, for instance, a great example is the PDF. Initially, we thought, oh, we've got this great idea, this HTML report, everyone's going to love it. And this inspector was like, oh, no, I need a PDF. And so we added that feature. Inspectors wanted to know how to upgrade their tests rather than, necessarily having to order 5 or 6 different types of tests from us. We now have a system where you can go to the house with one package and that'll accommodate a number of different testing options, which you can then pick later and upgrade it while the sample is en route to the lab. So we're constantly improving the process based upon the feedback we're getting. And that's just the virtue of being a relatively new group here. And we have a lot of software talent and desire to make this work. So we want to hear every problem and every challenge, and we want to fix it. And the more inspectors we get on and the more states that we activate, we think that we'll ultimately be collecting water testing in the most effective way possible, hopefully using home inspectors as a major portion of that channel.
And one of your inspectors is online on Facebook saying that he likes, his name is Rick, saying that he likes TapScore and he uses it. So that's cool.
Thanks, Rick.
Really and if you want to send me one of those kits, the basic or base HI test, I'll demonstrate it, or I'll just take a look at it. I don't want to use it, but if you want to send me a kit, I'll do another webinar and I'll hold it in my hands if you want to do that. Looks like according to the standards of practice, you probably already know this. Home inspectors are already required to, if they can, with observable evidence, determine whether the water supply is private or public. So they're already involved in, in the inspection of the water supply system in one way or another. And where I'm from, I guess now it's just all over the place. doesn't matter if it's a private well or public. There's always a bit of a concern sometimes. I guess it all depends, like we were saying. We don't want to beat up the utilities, but sometimes, you know, they'll send out a public notice. In my area, they'll send out a public notice when they get a spike in something bad in the water, and you know, that's always a kind of a strange thing to get in the mail. So it's a good thing, I think, for home inspectors to start thinking about incorporating water quality samples in every home inspection.
I think it'll, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years from now we have walk score already, and you will soon, I think, have environmental exposure scores. So, and for us, water is the tip of the iceberg. But as you know, there is dust, there are paint chips, is air quality issues, there's radon and asbestos, and all of these other things that environmental testing labs do, we are ourselves beginning to integrate into our service. And it starts today as a water test, but we believe that over the next 5 to 10 years, we will be rolling out the entirety of lab services for home inspectors.
Cool. So let's see if I can find that. That URL for InterNACHI members. Ah, there it is. I'm gonna see if I can bring it up bigger for everyone. So if they need more information or want to get that discount code, let's see if I can do this quickly. Mm-hmm.
I think it's mytap.us/InterNACHI.
Yep, there it is. So I'm bringing it up on the screen. And let's see, I'm looking for questions. There's a good conversation going on Facebook, and it looks like we're done with the questions. So John, I want to thank you very much for presenting for us and teaching us a little bit about water quality, and I hope your business does well, because man, if I was a home inspector, I would definitely be doing all kinds of ancillary services, and this seems to be like a really important one. And it doesn't matter if it's on a well or public water. So any final thoughts before we all say goodbye?
No, I just wanted to thank you and thank everyone for listening. And you know, even if for whatever reason you don't want to sign up, it really does only take 10 seconds. Then if you have questions or if you have feedback and ideas, please reach out. Like, we are learning more every day about how to do this job better and better. So we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for attending a free webinar with NACHI TV. I'm Ben from InterNACHI. Thanks, John. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.